Almost 2 years ago, I reviewed the A11 Tom Rice watches from Praesidus. Who is Praesidus? They are a veteran-backed watch company owned by Pacific Concepts Inc., who assemble their watches in the USA, and 5% of every watch they sell goes to their veteran partner organizations. Now, in the last 2 years, they have come out with a lot of models, all very military inspired, of course, mostly vintage and iconic military styles, and they've made quite the name for themselves beyond their Tom Rice watches. Now, this one that I have here today is another iconic style, a UDT watch, the A-5 UDT as they have named it. Now, these type of watches were most notably used by underwater demolition teams in World War II, as they needed something that could really stand up to being used and abused underwater, hence the canteen crown to really help lock out that moisture. This one is 38 millimeters, has a really long canvas strap, 200 meters of water resistance, a dome box sapphire crystal, and it uses the P024 Soprod movement. There are 3 colors available, black as I have here, a sunray blue, and a really cool abyss blue. This one is currently selling for $645, and it's the first time in a very long time that I have worn a watch like this, so let's dive deep and check it all out. All right, let's go ahead and get all the specs on screen here, and right off the bat, I do think the $645 price tag is a very decent price. It's got a Swiss Soprod movement, and I know people tend to complain when they see this movement, but I've seen less and less issues being reported, and coming from my own experience, I have never had an issue with this movement. But before we get into all the rest of the details, my first impressions for under $700, this is a lot of watch for the money. Now, as we all know, these canteen-style crowns are very outdated. We've come a long way since World War II in terms of how to make a dive watch with all the technological advancements we've had. Of course, we got all the rubber gaskets and seals and screw-down crowns and casebacks. Yet, there's something nostalgic to the style of watch. It's basically a field watch with a screw-down crown, a predecessor to the dive watch, and I will admit it does look cool. Now, I will say, it does immediately remind me of the old Invicta Russian divers. Now, for context, that's because going back well over 20 years ago now, I owned quite a few of those 50 millimeter plus monstrosities with the massive crown covers and that dangling chain. And even though many watches of this style were made by other companies beyond Invicta, since I owned and wore quite a few, that's what these remind me of. And offhand, I think that was the last time I wore a watch with a crown like this. You know what? Actually, as I'm typing this up, I went and looked over and I did 2 reviews with watches about a decade ago, I think back in 2014, so over a decade ago, that did have canteen crowns, and both of those were some large watches as well. So we have the canteen crown, and before I get into the dial, which is really what I want to showcase here, let's talk the good and bad of the crown. Obviously, you unscrew the canteen, and underneath you have what I call the sickly little crown. It's just undecorated and looks unfinished, and in general, it's what a lot of them look like with this canteen cover. It's small and it's a little hard for me to pull it out, mostly due to the fact that it's a smaller watch at 38 millimeters. Once pulled out though, it's easy to set the crown. The canteen itself is fine and it screws on no issue, but I did notice immediately after it first arrived the issue with the links that attach it to the case. I guess you can call it a chain, but they're more like cable links and they're more rigid. And because of that, if you just go to put the cap on, if you go to screw it down, not paying attention to those cable links, this is what happens. It sticks out very strangely and it kind of just looks awful. You kind of have to position the cable links inwards before screwing the cap down. And yes, it is still a little awkward, but much better than the other way. But let's get to my favorite part of this watch, which is the dial. As I said, it comes in two other colors, both different shades of blue, and without seeing it in person, it's hard to tell if they're both embossed dials, but this black one appears to be tin or at least some kind of metal embossed dial. It's like stamped from the inside for the numbers and the brand and model name, and it reminds me of some of those military ammo cans. And now that I think about it, I wonder why they didn't do a military green dial option. That would have looked very cool with this style of dial. Anyways, the way this dial is done, it's just very visually appealing, especially combined with that top hat or box style crystal. That crystal helps to give this unique dial even more added dimension. And like a lot of watches with unique aspects, I found myself looking more at the stamping or the embossing parts of the dial. Or the way that crystal distorts that minute track instead of actually looking at what time it is. I think we've all been there. But yeah, this dial is just very cool. You don't see dials like this often, and the combo of those syringe hands and the massive Arabic numerals all coated up with what I believe is C3 Superluminova. This one is easy to read. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Lume, because while this may be a smaller watch with a smaller dial, that did not affect the Lume. As you can see, this thing is ridiculously bright, and not only can you see the time from across the room, but it is definitely one that lasts all night. I found it to still be glowing 7 hours later, much more dimly, of course, but still bright enough to tell the time in the pitch black without issue. Now, the case is all brushed steel, a thick-walled case, if you will, but still, it's only 12.5 millimeters thick, and that includes the crystal, and the lugs do have that deep downturn to them, which I find pleasing. The case also has drilled lugs, even though the strap they give with the watch has quick-release pins, but I'm sure many will want to put this on another strap, especially in NATO, and the drilled lugs are very handy with that. Speaking of the strap, this is one long strap for the size of this watch. I measured it at 140 by 80 millimeters, which I knew it was large, but I didn't know it was that large. Now you could see how far I have to go up the holes in the strap to buckle it for my 7.5 inch or 19.05 centimeter wrist. And that's due to the long length of the strap as well as the large round and large spaced buckle holes. That said, if you have a large wrist and you prefer a smaller watch, this will be a really nice strap for you. If you have a small wrist, like anything below 7 inches or 17.7 centimeters, this strap will not fit you. Now, I do like the look of the strap. It's a green canvas. It's not really stiff at all. It has a nice leather backing, and I love the military style buckle and the double keepers. You know, with the exception of my nitpicking on the canteen crown, there's not much that I don't like here. It's a throwback World War II style of watch. It's of course been modernized with a new Swiss movement and a sapphire crystal, along with other modern materials and machining and technology, and I absolutely love the embossed dial. I want to see more military style or even dive watches. I do believe Greg Stevens Designs has a few watches with dials like this, but I think it is a well-made watch for the price, and I'd love to see more dials like that. For me, I would like to see it on a slightly better fitting strap, maybe an Erica or one of those elastic style straps, or a nice vintage ammo style from either Greg, as I just previously mentioned, or Micah from Vintage Straps. And yes, I would like to see it bigger. You know, with the canteen crown, it doesn't exactly wear like a 38 millimeter. And while I did enjoy wearing it, I still would prefer a 40 or 42 millimeter size. Face it, I'm getting older, and small dials are harder to read, though I will say this one does make a case for not all small watches are created equal, at least as far as dials. Anyways, those are my thoughts, so let me know yours. Head to the comment section and discuss the Praesidus A-5 UDT. Links to the Praesidus website and my written review are in the description if you want to see more. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit that video subscribe button. And of course, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. You know what? Even if you didn't like it, do it anyways. I won't tell anyone. You can find us on social media, of course. If you still do that type of thing, it's at Watch Report on Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, and whatever else is out there. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.